I'm always enthused and happy to talk about traditional food. Khashita ol yate da chiyan nanset chiyan. What are we saying? Khashita ate na. In our cultural, our Navajo cultural. But today, I'm gonna share the stories from my grandmother. Leitsad chiyan. My grandmother told me, during the recreation of human in the yellow world, the ahot inchana, no yahazna. That's the time that when they recreated human life in the yellow world. How do we go about the male and the female? How do we take care of the male and how do we take care of the female? And one of the things that was talked about is food. So when we say chiyan, we're talking about female. For example, chikan means girls, right? Young girls. Chikan. Yan. My grandmother said, chill. But no seliki yan. So in our culture, we have words for every significant things that we talk about. Adonda nanset. What does that mean? Nanset. All of our plants, chiyan, all of our plants, they have roots. They have roots into the earth. Adonose. And then they have pollen. Betkhatatin khali. And my grandmother said, Betkhatatin haleho. Just like what we say in our offering. Shiket ato satsit aj. Shet ostana laja. They say that. So what are they talking about? They're talking about that we exist on this Mother Earth and how we connect to the cosmic order, the constellation. We exist in between. We say Mother Earth. We say that the universe is our Father. That's how we express ourselves. We exist there. So the plants, they ripe and they have pollens. And they make a connection with the North Star. And then also the Big Dipper and the Small Dipper. My grandmother always says, when you find the North Star, you're looking at the center of the universe. And all the constellations, they cycle around it. But North Star, Big Dipper, and the Small Dipper, it represents family, a mother and a father, she says. We say that our invisible plume connects to the North Star. How we cycle with the season. how the plants is the same for the plants. So when I hear word traditional food, how did it become a traditional? What does traditional mean? We connect to our traditional food in a way that we also take it sacredly. Anyway, I heard 3 sisters. In our Navajo culture, we have 4. During the time when White Shawan was discovered, that this is before IHSs, how do we cleanse our body? How do we process? How does our internal organ gonna process? At the same time, there was a connection that happened. A connection with the earth and the universe. How can this, the universe and this earth communicate without neither? By your teaching. And the deity said, there's a plant called Nata corn. So when you have a corn, when you grow corn from a cornfield, and if you break off that corn and take the corn husk off, you're going to see 3 ridges at the bottom. And underneath the black world, the blue world, the yellow world, and the white world. Over there at the Net College, they designed a corn stalk with the 4 colors. And I said, wow, this is a structure of a corn. So when corn was discovered in the black world, they saw that, and they saw a plant, only 3 leaves sticking out. At first, we don't know what that is. Stay away from it. So that happened. Exotic plant, they call it back then. And when they came to the blue world, they saw that same plant, but at that time it ripe and had the Betradatin Hazlin Lesson. And what was happening is that people were scared of this plant, but the bird people, they were coming to that pollen. They would put their beak in the corn pollen and take it out. And as they take it out, they would gargle it. And they would tune up their voice with it. And what they said, the bird people said, Di azay ata. So when you wake up before the sunrise, you're going to hear all these birds chirping, making good music. How does that make you feel? It makes you feel and can sense the soothing of the beautiful music. It makes you feel good. It makes you connected And it also brightens up your spirituality. They saw that the corn has power. That's when people realize that that's a valuable thing. And then when you take off that corn, you're going to see straight rows of kernel. How many of you know how many rows a corn has? There's 24 rows all the way around. The first 12 is Nahastan, the earth, Yadashkil, the universe. Adon the Hayos Kath early dawn, Nahodet Ij, the bright daylight. Ado Enahotsu, the sunset. There's 6 right there. Adon the Eya Sisna Chin, so dog o see the bensa, so there's 12. Adon the other 12 is Ranch, and the 12 months of Ahanadi teaching. So at the bottom of the corn, you're going to see the bigger kernels and makes a straight row like that. The bottom kernel represents our elders. Nihiche, Nihimasane, Donihinala, they sit at the bottom. They're small kernels. That represents the children, the grandchildren. They sit up there. And the straight row means that there is generation. Generation of rows. When the clans were initiated, 24 of the main clan was created by the white shell woman. Adon Da'eya Nashodeshi became 52. So the corn kernel has the shape of a human heart. And when a corn grows, it does not grow its root downwards. It goes sideways. Only 3 roots comes out of corn. And that also represents our 3 main arteries. So therefore, that's the day when the corn was discovered that way. And the tassel on the corn is the invisible plume that makes a connection to the North Star. When we used to harvest corn, and my grandmother said, pick every one of those kernels, don't leave anything behind. I said, why? Because that kernel that you left behind is going to cry for you. That was the elder's teaching. Said, never leave a kernel behind, because it's going to cry for you. So when the human was recreated, how is that? How do we take care of, or what's going to cleanse the internal organs, the inner organs? Navajo Nation. Corn was used, corn was put there so that it would cleanse our organs, our intestinal organs. Wow. Corn is very strong. Corn has power. Corn has energy. When you eat corn, it cleanses your inside of your stomach. It cleanses your organs, your intestines. When you have hamburger at a second night 2 years ago, maybe the ground beef might be still stuck in your bowels. But when you eat corn, it takes all those out. That's how corn cleanses your inner organ and your intestinal organs. My grandmother said, all these food right here, they can hear, they can listen. When my grandmother used to say, brings out that charcoal and prepares her food, cooks her food, and says, slide the food that I'm preparing right here on this sacred fire, this charcoal. Nejonago is going to feed and nourish my grandchildren. It's going to nourish our body, mind, and spirit. And my grandmother says that you never say tosakanta. You never say opa dochinida because it's sacred. And how she would after everybody takes their share, she would roll up a tortilla and clean the grease. Clean the grease out of that pan. And then we all pitch in to help her clean that pan so she wouldn't have to wash it. What does she do? After she's done, she would tap into that grease. It's going to nourish my body. It's going to nourish my spirituality. It's going to nourish my mind, body, and spirit. That's the way she used to greet the food. Okoko. And my grandmother always used to teach us, educate us, talk to us, and discipline us at the table. He said, you're going to listen to me while you're eating my cooking, my food that I prepared. You're going to eat it and you're going to swallow it with this teaching. I hear people say, I don't know how, I don't remember. It just went into this ear and went out this ear. But when you process the food, you're going to swallow that and it's going to maintain that teaching. I always see family eating in a restaurant. They're all texting one another from here to there. Khalid, what's going on here? So my aunt, when you go to my aunt's house, she has a basket on the counter. So put all your cell phones in there. We're going to eat. We're going to take this time out to eat. All of you, put your phones in there. So when we go to my aunt's, everybody leaves their phone at home. So how we should spiritually eat cultural food, traditional food. Okay, that's about the corn. Beans. Now, I got 2 bags over there. And I said, wow. Beans was also used as a traditional food. The corn cleanses our internal organ. Beans was also discovered and used as our cultural food because when you eat beans, it will sense that you have bacteria in your intestinal organs. It's going to also sense that you have bacteria in your body. And my grandma says, there's openings in your nails, your nose, your ears. And the keshkan, there's openings. So when we eat beans, when you sense the bacteria in your stomach or somewhere, beans will cleanse that. It will take it out into these openings in your body. So, it bloats. When you eat beans and when you bloat, that means you have bacteria. That's what my grandmother said. It said that beans has power energy that's going to take out all the bacteria out of you. And then when you open up that beans, you take apart, when you open it, it's going to become a shape of your kidney. And there's holes in that beans. So when you separate them and combine it together, it's going to show you the structure of your kidney. So beans is our sacred traditional food. And squash was discovered. Now, it forms a shape of where we were conceived. Although at the end it has that the tail that represents your belly button. When the squash forms, it's going to shape itself into where a womb where we develop. It begins the seeds that represents family. And then gizzard also was discovered to take care of our skin. So how did the 3 sisters became our traditional food? And all of the traditional food that we use has significant meaning and a purpose. So, like I said, these food, plant-based food, all the food, we have to take time out to consume it. We have to be reverent when we eat food. We have to have that straight mind. My grandmother says that don't ever cook if you're mad. Don't just eat that. You have to concentrate. You have to be reverent when you're preparing food because you're going to share it with your family. So in our culture, we have food song. Chiyan begin halong. Ibnina bahasti. Shesheta ayelo shakatzotel zende. Shesheta ayela shakatzotel zende. Shesheta ayela. That's the song that they sing. So the main food is used in our ceremonies. Nata, donan, nanset, shakanigi, the fruits. And then also tushchin, ado utsen. We protect it with our prayers. And how do we take care of these three main food? The three traditional food. Nut or tobacco. So that's 4. The tobacco is to use it as an antioxidant and takes care of the food. The tobacco does cleansing and making sure that, almost like an exterminator, how it takes care of the 3 main food that was discovered for us. In our ceremonies, we have a beauty way ceremony. When all of harvest season, we have ceremonies, the beauty way ceremony, and we bring in a basket, and we put the white corn, blue corn, yellow corn, and black corn. And right in the middle, we put down we call it chanoltini, the corn that goes all the way around. And then the round corn, we put it in the middle. And all the melons on the side. So every 7 songs that we sing, we would put that, and we would use that tobacco and bless all the food. I see cornfields, and the corn only grows about that high. My grandmother says, you have to follow the North Star, the Pleiades. So you have to follow that. When the Pleiades, the constellation, disappears to the west, that's when the planting season starts. It's going to only take 13 days. And the Pleiades will come from the north. So when you plant within that 13 days, it's going to grow with that, the Pleiades, the constellation, and they're going to grow as high, maybe 6 feet. We hardly see this anymore. We don't follow our traditional ways of planting, taking care of the food. The fire poker. that protects all the food that you have. You would always have juniper ash. You would always have a fire poker. You would always have a grinding stone. How come when you go into the Hogan, the kitchen's on this side, always on this side? And your Che saddle is on this side. My grandmother says, over here on this side, Chiyan, your traditional food, is your protector, is your security. You would always put that grinding stone by the door for Nashkish, so that poverty will not exist or contaminate your fire. So I want to share this traditional food story with you. Take care of your food just like how do you take care of your children. That was the teaching back then. If whatever food that you don't consume, give it back to the fire. When an infant when an infant, first laugh, baby's first laugh, we serve cornbread. And we also take that mineral salt. The purpose is that my children, my grandchildren will not be greedy. They would always have food. They will always have food to share with relatives. That's the purpose why we do celebrate baby's first laugh. So there's things that happen that we do and celebrate today. So Chiyan, it's really hard to do that now. When we're over at McDonald's, how do we pray to the burgers that we have? So, but the main thing is that to take time out, to be reverent when you're consuming food. It's medicine. Chiyan is medicine. But we have to learn to recommunicate with our food. And one teaching that I'm going to share is that, anyway, I was talking about the kneel down bread. When this lady was going through all this depression, she remembered her traditional food. So what she did is that she built a fire and she made a blue corn mush. And she took some corn husks. And I forgot the corn husk that represents or wraps our corn has ridges. So when our elderly people, when they have ceremony, they wear a penitent blanket, design not going this way, but going this way. The corn husk that represents the corn husk. There's 12 corn husks on your corn. So this lady mixed blue corn mush, and she made it into njonago, and she would and she would put the corn husk on the bottom. She said, "This is going to represent my mother." But it's going to represent my father. The tie on the nail brown bag, the nail corn. I'm gonna tie this together so that I could be stable again. I could maintain, I could focus. While she was kneeling down, that healed her. It took her away from her depression and healed her mind, body, and spirit. So we just don't call it nailed down bread for, it has a purpose. Thank you for allowing, thank you for listening, and I hope that you take this and share it with your family, your children, your grandchildren. Beautiful story. Thank you.